Man, what a disappointing loss to the Detroit Lions. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I might be in the minority. I really thought after the bye week, we might come out and surprise some folks in the NFL and maybe steal a win against a really hot Detroit. I thought after we got the proverbial monkey off our back in New Orleans with like an actual dominant multi-score win that, you know, maybe the team has kind of figured something out, but very disappointing loss, very disappointing loss. Not super unexpected, but the fact that we were not competitive again, similar to the Philadelphia Eagles game, is definitely very disappointing. But before I get into my reaction, I am Ramy B. Make sure you click the subscribe button down below. I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos. So let's get into my reaction. So the Buccaneers lost a 20-6 matchup against the Detroit Lions, which puts us now at 3-2, and that is 2-0 on the road and 1-2 at home. So again, having difficulties at home like we've had over the last decade or so. The Bucs had 251 total yards of offense, and 205 of it was passing, 46 rushing, while Detroit had 380 yards of offense, 340 passing, 40 rushing. We were completely dominated offensively and defensively. The first half was, what, I think a 10-3 score, something like that. It was very close. And the defense, you know, held their own against Detroit, and the offense wasn't really doing much, but it looked good going into the second half. But then in the second half, the Lions definitely turned it up on offense, and we didn't have an answer for them. Baker Mayfield offensively had his worst game as a Buccaneer, 19 of 37 for 206 yards and a pick. The pick was deflected at the line. There's a couple passes that were really deflected at the line that should have been potentially bigger gains. Baker did not have a good game at all. Outside of the interception and a couple other tipped ones at the line, there was a few overthrows on deep balls, 2 to Trey Palmer that would have been touchdowns. In our last desperation drive, when we were just trying to score before the end of the game, there was a couple as well. His deep ball accuracy today was not that good, and I understand Detroit was bringing pressure and stuff, but I think he only got sacked once, maybe twice, but overall not a good performance from him. Easily his worst game as a Buccaneer. Running game, Rachaad White had 7 carries for 26 yards, Keyshawn Vaughn 6 for 9. Again, atrocious run game, and then going down, we had to throw the ball a lot. On the receiving end as well, not much. Godwin had 6 catches for 77 yards, Evans 4 for 49, Trey Palmer 2 for 47, and nobody else had over 20 yards. There was definitely a lot of room for those yardages to go up, but again, Evans had a couple of crucial drops that would have potentially made the game a little closer or put us in better position. And then, of course, the overthrows by Baker. So offensively, not really much to brag about. Sure, Rachaad White had 3.6 yards per carry. I know we're the worst in the NFL at 3 yards per carry as a team, and I don't think when you throw in Keyshawn Vaughn, and I don't know if they count QB scrambles in that, but I don't think it'll help that average at all. So offensively, nothing to brag right home about. Again, we had a bye week. We had time to create a game plan to counter whatever Detroit was trying to do defensively, and we just had a hard time doing that, unfortunately. And again, Canales is definitely learning and things like that, but we should have definitely at least been able to put up a touchdown or 2 against Detroit, and the game should have been much closer than it actually was. Defensively, Jared Goff had 30 completions out of 44 attempts for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the really concerning thing is he's played against Bulls in Tampa 3 times. In 2019, when they lost to the Bucs 55-40, where he put up 500 yards and tied the record for most completions in a game with 45. And then when we played our Super Bowl year in 2020 against them, I think we lost a 27-24 game, 27-21 to Jared Goff. And now in the 3 times he's played Bulls, he's put up over 1,200 yards, and I want to say maybe 2 picks, 3 picks, and over 9 touchdowns probably. So definitely he has somehow figured out a top Bulls defense. And again, that's ridiculous, over 1,200 yards in 3 games. The run game, nothing to write home about. Reynolds 10 carries for 15 yards, Montgomery 6 for 14. Of course, we stopped the run, but I mean, they didn't really need to run the ball against us because their passing game was working really greatly, especially in the second half. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 12 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown, where he just caught the ball kind of in the middle of the field, cut back the other way, and had a great block around the edge and just kind of exploded and scored. Jameson Williams, 2 for 53 and a touchdown, and Josh Reynolds, 3 receptions for 50 yards. Defensively, again, not the best. I think they converted 65-70% of their third downs, a lot of third and longs. It was almost automatic. Every time they got into third and long, it was just like, okay, let's prepare for the next down, because they were going to complete it. And both their touchdowns were on third and longs. That second one especially was, what, a 30-yard bomb where our safety Ryan Neal was not really in the best position, but could have made a break on the ball and kind of didn't see it. Anyways, it was ridiculous. Levante David, Joe Tryon-Shienka, and Kancey each had 1 sack. Kancey had his first sack of his career, and that now that he's back, the pass rush definitely looks a little more explosive. He's very quick, and him and Vita Vea up there in the middle should definitely open things up for the edge rush. But nothing really to brag about defensively. I would argue maybe our second worst defensive performance behind that Philadelphia Eagles game. The Detroit Lions are built similar to the Eagles, you know, bruising running attack, threats on the outside, and they were essentially like a baby Eagles. And yeah, they proved that. They didn't obviously rush for 200 yards like the Eagles did, but we had a hard time stopping them. And again, the game should have been much closer than it actually was. We should have at least had a chance to score a touchdown, especially when we got close and Evans got flagged for that offensive pass interference. That drive at least would have made it 13-20, would have felt a little more respectable, and at the end of the game would have had a shot to tie. But yeah, overall not a great performance on either end, offensively or defensively. Camarda continues to be the best punter in the NFL. He had 6 punts for 320 plus yards. His longest was 66 yards, where he got it right out of bounds inside the 3. I think it was at the 2-yard line or the 1-yard line, and is averaging 54 yards a punt. I don't even want to think about where the team would be without him punting like that if we had much shorter punts, but this dude is easily punting at 60 yards a clip almost, and great hang time, and he's definitely a weapon for us, especially in terms of field position and things like that. But yeah, not a great performance at all. Nothing really positive to highlight at all. Evans had a bad game. Godwin played pretty well. Baker had a bad game. Run game was bad. Again, O-line did pretty decent considering what was going on, and the Lions knowing we were in pass down situations. I do want to stop seeing us do those stupid halfback dives again, like we always do up the middle. Not really, just wasting it down, just like last year and the year before. But yeah, not a good performance overall. So that's all I have. I don't want to make it too long. So Bucs fans, comment down below what you think of the game. And yeah, next week we play, I don't even know who we play next week. Do we play the Buffalo Bills? All right, I just checked. We play the Atlanta Falcons in Tampa next week, and that should be a game that we should be able to win. I think even with how bad we've looked against 2 physical teams in the Eagles and the Lions, we look like the best team in the NFC South. We've already beat up on the Saints, and sure, you could say Derek Carr was hurt, but we beat up on them. We were able to move the ball, score on them. They're not the same team that they were a couple years ago. The Panthers, I think, have they even won a game? They might be 0-5, I think, or 0-6, something like that. 0-5 maybe, but and then the Falcons have looked second best. They've had flashes, but again, they lost today. So the entire division lost today. So in terms of positioning in the division, we are at 3-2, and we're still in first place. The Falcons and Saints are 3-3, so they're a half game behind us, and then the Panthers are a few games behind. So not much has changed in terms of that, but I think we should be able to beat up on the Falcons next week. But yeah, so comment down below what you think, and let's go Bucs, and hopefully next week we can turn it around. We definitely need a win. We need to be up 4-3 before we need to be 4-2 before we face the Bills in 2 weeks, which is going to be a tough test. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and as always, I am out.
Let's go! You a Buccaneer fan?